Hi there, welcome to the channel. This is Beyond Disclosure and I'm Corey. This channel is here to help record the historic transition into a world where we have some type of disclosure on the UFO phenomena, and we're here to build a community and ask the right questions about this disclosure process. We have had lots happening lately in the arena of disclosure. In today's video, we're just going to recap some of the recent events that have happened in the world of disclosure. What have we seen transpire over the last couple of weeks? We have had some very interesting things happen that are worth commenting on. We have had the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office launch their website. The AARO website is now up, so we'll have a look at that quickly. We have had NASA's UAP report recently come out in the last couple of days and a conference to go with it. So we'll dive into that a little bit and see what that might mean. And of course, we've had Mexico's UAP congressional hearing as well. There's some crazy stuff that came out of that. And just before we get started on today's topics, I did want to let everyone that's watching know that we have a podcast coming this week. Myself and I will have a co-host with me, my good mate Lem. We are going to co-host a podcast together, so that is going to happen I think 8:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday. Keep an eye out for that. We will start by looking at the NASA report and the conference that came with it. So NASA did release their UAP report. Honestly, NASA's report in its entirety is pretty underwhelming. There's no real new information in there. There's no bombshells. There's no new discoveries. And it is underwhelming. But there is a deliberate and concerned effort to, I would say, lift the bar when it comes to how we address the subject, the language being used, and I think this fits in very well with a controlled disclosure plan. It's becoming quite apparent that why this is going to happen reasonably quickly, it's not going to be a sort of rip the band-aid off type of disclosure. You know, it's not going to be 1 week UAPs are a fringe topic and then the next week we're accepting non-human intelligence and crash retrieval programs and reverse engineering. It's not going to happen like that. So being part of a controlled disclosure plan, we're seeing the language change and a cultural change. I think it's a no-brainer that they need to use NASA to develop the foundation for the public opinion on the subject before making further revelations and releasing further information. So this is a good thing. I think this is a good thing. And I think really the main statement that came out of the conference that was headed up by Bill Nelson and some of the NASA team dealing with the UAP report, that language was about, I'll try and quote here, is to change the topic of UFOs and UAPs from sensationalized to science. So let's just have a look at what Bill Nelson had to say in his opening statement, some of the language that I think is very important.
In June of last year, NASA commissioned an independent study team to examine unidentified anomalous phenomena. We did so with a few goals in mind. First, to examine how NASA can use our expertise and instruments to study UAP from a scientific perspective. Second, shift the conversation about UAP from sensationalism to science, and to make sure that whatever we find or whatever we recommend, to make sure that information is shared transparently around the world.
really, the way that the NASA team communicated during the conference is very dry, it's very scientific, it's very data driven, and that's what they need to do. They need to take this seriously. They need to talk about the data. They need to present it in a scientific manner that allows the public to digest it from a new point of view. I think it was the next natural step in the evolution of this disclosure process. Bill Nelson, the head of NASA, he made the statement himself that there are UAP out there. We don't know what they are, but we're going to try and find out, and whatever we find out, we're going to let you know. Transparency was a word that was used quite a bit. I think that's part of their agenda, is to keep using that word, saying we are transparent, we are transparent, we are transparent. I think a lot of people will buy it, but I still think there's a lack of trust with a lot of people with NASA about what they say and what they're going to give, because I think for people that have been following this subject for a long time are aware that NASA have had a lot of information, and they would be privy to a lot of classified information that they have not been allowed to talk about. The question of transparency is still there. Despite them using that word a lot and saying that they're here to be transparent, I think that in a lot of people's minds is still in doubt. So one of the stranger things that then happened as part of this conference was they did announce that there would be a new director of UAP studies at NASA, and that they had appointed this new director. But when asked who the new director was, they refused to name him, which sort of flew in the face of transparency. I think it was the next day after the conference, they then decided to name the new director. And the new director's name is Mark McInerney. So I believe Mark McInerney is a meteorologist and a data climate scientist. He is our new director of UAP studies at NASA. I think there's some real steps forward there and some positive messaging coming through in the conference about the UAP studies and NASA's commitment to the seriousness of those studies and the scientific integrity that needs to be applied. So that's really good. But then there was one really bad element to the conference, one really negative aspect of it, and that was during the question and answer time when Bill Nelson was asked about David Grush, and I think Bill Nelson's answer was pretty poor. I think in the context of the UAP discussion, Bill Nelson did not take this question seriously enough. Bill Nelson, you need to pick up your game. One other thing I would like to comment about on the NASA conference, during the question and answer session, they made it clear that they would be relying on the general public to record data. And they sort of hinted at the idea of an app that can be downloaded onto your phone, and that would have the tools to help record data on UAPs, and that would be a way that it would be submitted. So I find that very interesting, and I think this is a good thing too. But we'll move on now and talk about the AARO website, the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, and their new website. I find this really funny too, because I think this is what Ross Coulthart had said on multiple occasions, that AARO needed to have a website. They didn't even have a website, and they needed one, and there's no way for people to report sightings. So while there's no mechanism for reporting yet, it does say there, coming soon, there's going to be that mechanism there so people can report. I would definitely encourage people to go and have a look at the AARO website and have a look at the sheet that's attached. There's a little bit of data there, very neatly presented, very concise. And in that report, it talks about some of the different characteristics of UAPs that are reported, different, what altitudes they are reported at, morphology, what shapes they are, what speeds they are traveling at, and just some of the general characteristics. So yeah, there's a little bit of fun data out there for you to get from that website. But again, it's another supporting step in disclosure and another positive move forward. Last but not least, we have to comment on the Mexico UAP hearings. It's pretty hard to watch because it's all in Mexican and I don't speak Mexican. But what I can take away from the whole hearing process is that what stole the show were the alien bodies that got rolled out. So they unveiled these little alien bodies that were in these little coffins, supported with a whole range of scientific evidence, supposedly, including DNA tests, scans, x-rays, and there's some really interesting stuff that they have said while releasing this. But it hasn't gone down that well. There's still a lot of skeptics out there, and I think rightfully so. I think it's definitely worth looking at, and I also think it's very reasonable that people should be asking the questions. Look, if this is real, get more samples to more scientists, do more studies, get more results. If this is real, if it is real, this is massive. This is the biggest discovery made public ever, probably in human history. So let's not stuff around. Let's get this information into as many hands as possible. Let's let people rigorously test it over and over again, come up with the same results so that we can prove that this is real or it's not. So some pretty sensational stuff coming out there. On another upside, it looks like there will be more UFO hearings coming soon. There has been a couple of tweets from a couple of Congress people, and they are saying that there is more hearings coming. So that means we have to look forward to more witnesses and hopefully more whistleblowers and hopefully people with first-hand accounts. More first-hand accounts, more first-hand witnesses. That's what we really need to just set this alight. So yeah, bring it on. So we'll wrap it up here for today. Thanks again everyone for watching. A reminder that we have our new podcast coming this week in the next couple of days, so please tune in. That will be at 8:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday evening. So please join in and check that out. Jump into the comments, let me know what you guys think. Please subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content. We'll see you guys again soon. Thanks a lot.